Hello and welcome back. I have kind of a big haul this week because I was preparing for the long holiday weekend, and judging by how many of these I've seen so far, it looks like I was pretty wise to go ahead and get some extras. First, from Hopkins, I managed to score another film from the McNaughton Popular Viewing Collection. This is Please Give, the new film from Nicole Holofcener, and I'm really excited to see this. It has Catherine Keener and Oliver Platt in it, which means how could you go wrong with that? And I've really liked Holofcener's other films, with the possible exception of her first film, Walking and Talking. I saw that when I was younger. I don't remember exactly how old, but probably young teens. And I may just not have appreciated it that much at that time, just because I can't imagine why I didn't like it. I don't remember liking it, but it had Catherine Keener and Anne Heche in it, and I don't know. But anyway, I saw Lovely and Amazing and Friends with Money, both of which I really liked. So I'm hoping that this will continue in that fine tradition. And the rest of these are from the main collection of the Johns Hopkins Library. First I got Kenji Mizoguchi's Utamaro and His Five Women, also known as Five Women Around Utamaro. This is a film from apparently Mizoguchi's middle period about an artist and the women in his life and how he relates to them. It's apparently loosely based on the life of a real artist in the 18th century in Japan, obviously, or perhaps not obviously. And I liked this. I was somehow expecting something just really absolutely amazing, and it didn't bowl me over, but I definitely liked it and would recommend it. And this is the third Mizoguchi I've seen, with the first two being Sancho the Bailiff and Ugetsu, both of which are much more acclaimed films, which may be why I like them better. Just they're the ones that are really famous that everybody knows about. But I'm definitely going to continue with more Mizoguchi at some point. Then I got Jean Renoir's La Bête Humaine, based on the novel by Émile Zola, which I have not read. Although I have read the novel that was about the parents of the main character in this film, and the novel was L'Assommoir, and it was filmed as Gervaise, which I have not seen yet. So I was actually torn between borrowing Gervaise and borrowing La Bête Humaine, and I didn't realize that this was sort of a sequel, so I just went with this one. I don't think it really matters, but I really enjoyed this. It's almost a film noir precursor. It's about a man who falls in love with a married woman. She tries to convince him to kill her husband. And it's really interesting reading Zola, just seeing how much the great American pulp writers or hard-boiled crime novel writers were indebted to him. You read The Postman Always Rings Twice by James M. Cain, which is one of my favorite hard-boiled novels and also just one of my favorite novels. And then you go back and you read Thérèse Raquin by Zola, or you read this novel or watch this film, and you just see how much they're indebted to him. Really interesting, but good film, definitely recommend it. And then I got the Saragossa Manuscript. This is a 3-hour-long film, picaresque and a bit surreal, it's a Polish film, and it's based on the novel by Jan Potocki, which is called The Manuscript Found in the Saragossa, and which I think is also the literal title of the movie. It's just been translated as the Saragossa Manuscript. And this is one of those films where I feel like maybe having read the book first would have helped. I really want to read the book, but although the author was Polish, it was written in French, and I have this thing about not reading French books in translation. I feel sort of compelled to read them in the original French. So I'm sort of waiting for a French copy of that to turn up somewhere, and then I'll read it. But just there are so many characters and so many stories within stories and complications that I feel like having read the book probably would have grounded me a little bit in the film experience. As it was, I didn't really work that hard at trying to keep everything straight because it's sort of a wacky, surreal vibe anyway. I just kind of went along for the ride. And it's an enjoyable ride. And the rest of these from Hopkins I have not yet seen. I got Casino, basically because it's 3 hours long, I have a long weekend, and my Netflix recommendations that keeps showing up and I sort of want it to go away, so I figure, okay, I'll borrow it from the library and rate it, and then Netflix will stop telling me to see it. It has a pretty good cast. There's Sharon Stone, who else is in this? Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci. Directed by Martin Scorsese, and considered by some to be the third in a trilogy that started with Mean Streets and continued with Goodfellas. I really liked Mean Streets, but Goodfellas I thought was kind of ho-hum. I kind of felt like he was ripping off what he did in Mean Streets, and I know a lot of people disagree, but whatever. To each his own. But I'm looking forward to seeing if this is worth watching. Then I got Man Trouble, starring Jack Nicholson and Ellen Barkin, and directed by Bob Rafelson. I'm really not a huge Jack Nicholson fan. I've liked some films he's been in, but I've liked those more in spite of Jack Nicholson than because of Jack Nicholson. But I do enjoy Bob Rafelson's films, or some of them. A lot of people are a big fan of that movie Head he did with the monkeys, and I just found that almost unwatchable. But I really like The King of Marvin Gardens, and now managing to blank on other films he's done, but I know I like his stuff. So looking forward to this. It's sort of a romantic comedy crime story. Then I got The Miracle of Morgan's Creek, classic comedy directed by Preston Sturges. I can't believe I haven't seen this yet. It's one of those huge films that everybody's always talking about. Somehow I've missed it, and I'm going to make up for that. And next, from the University of Baltimore Library, I got the Agatha Christie collection. This is 3 films and includes Murder with Mirrors, Murder is Easy, and A Caribbean Mystery. And this is a bit misleading because it says featuring Helen Hayes in her classic role as Miss Marple. And she does play Miss Marple in 2 of the films, but in Murder is Easy, although she is in that, it is a much smaller role. I really liked all 3 of these. They were made for television in the 1980s, and it's sort of your basic mystery plot. There's a murder, there are a bunch of suspects, picturesque scenery, relatively attractive 1980s TV movie people. And also, though, they got some pretty big stars in some of these. They got Bette Davis in Murder with Mirrors, Olivia de Havilland in Murder is Easy, and A Caribbean Mystery was, interestingly enough, co-written by Sue Grafton, who wrote those ABC crime novels, A is for Alibi, and its many, many sequels. I mean, she co-wrote the teleplay, obviously. Agatha Christie wrote the novel. But I enjoyed these. They're not great cinema, but it's a lot of fun watching Helen Hayes do her thing, and I thought they were just generally confident and enjoyable. Then from Stevenson University, I got Volume 2 of the Harold Lloyd Comedy Collection. As I've mentioned, Harold Lloyd is my favorite of the silent screen comedians. I just love his nerdy persona, the nerdy guy who's trying to be brave and eventually manages to find his inner resources and win over his sweetheart and defeat the villain. This had several films on it. I highly recommend The Freshman, which is probably his most famous film, and also Feet First, which is one of his talkies, and Grandma's Boy, which is a short, but which is really quite funny. And then from the Sights and Sounds department of the Enoch Pratt Free Library, this was really where I said, I have a long weekend coming up, what the heck, let's go for it. And I got, a miniseries called Lily. As you can see, this is quite large, and stars Francesca Annis as the celebrated beauty and socialite turned actress Lily Langtry. And this is supposed to be one of the best Masterpiece Theater productions ever. It was made in the late 1970s. And that's all for now, and if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for my next video.